Can you check to see if we're live? There we go. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's stream. Tonight we're going to be looking at Kane's shot. We're going to be going over some reference, some acting ideas, and then after that we're going to look at Ayub's shot. And we're going to open it up in Maya, go over some polishing and workflow stuff. And then if anybody else has questions or anything you want to go over, just feel free to post a link in the feedback channel in the Discord, or you can even post it in the chat if you want. So if everyone can hear me fine, that's great, and we'll just go right into it. So let's see. Screen share one. Let me go ahead and turn off the YouTube music. Alrighty, so we have Kane's shot, and it's a really cool idea. For anybody that's just hopping in, basically the idea is an infant at an aquarium is tapping on an octopus's tank. The octopus tries to ignore him but gets too annoyed, then slithers out of the chest he was hiding in to intimidate, threaten the child. Going for something like Dave from Penguins of Madagascar, push dynamic posing for the octopus, broad body mechanics acting shot. So I think you have some really good stuff in here. I like the drawings that you're going for. I like some of the posing you have, but I do have some ideas that I think you can add to plus the shot a little bit. So I'll go over those. Let me see. I think I did some drawovers. So basically, my main note for your shot, Kane, is that I feel like acting-wise overall, he's not acting within the environment. It almost feels like a stage play, if that makes sense. Like, he's in the chest, and that's about the only part of his environment that he interacts with. And I think it's really nice in shots for you to interact with the environment and the world you're around, because then it makes it specific to your shot. And so what I mean is, like, he comes out and he just walks straight towards screen and he's just gesturing with his hands. And I try my best never to do too much hand gesturing, because most of the time that's not the way we convey ourselves. I mean, even right now, like, I'm messing with a pen and I'm like twiddling it around and stuff. So one idea I had is, what if you can have him interact within his environment? Something that can plus his personality and give him something to do with his hands. So I was like, okay, he's in a fish tank, right? What if there's fish swimming around in the tank as he's speaking? And as he says this line, also let me know, guys, if you can hear this audio. Oh. 1 second, and I will make it hearable. Okay, let me know if y'all can hear this.
I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland.
Cool. Can y'all hear that? Cool. Okay, so
I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland.
So I liked what you had in this energy pass of the head angle of, like, I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic, because with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland. Of, like, looking up off to the side and then, like, looking straight at camera. I liked that. I like it better than what you have here. Or in your reference, where you're just staring at the camera the whole time. I don't think that's quite as interesting as what you have here. So kind of bouncing off of that, I'm like, okay, what if he's talking intimidating, right?
I'm a baths. I am the angel of death. I am Abaddon the destroyer.
So he's like, I am Abaddon and destroyer. And as he's saying that, there's a fish swimming behind him, and he catches it, right? So he's like, I'm Abaddon and destroyer. And then
I'm a one-man euthanasia.
So he grabs the fish and he's like, I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. But with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland. And as he leans into the camera, he like squishes the fish. And obviously you don't have to do all of this, but I was thinking it could be funny. Like, it could add some humor to the shot if, like, you have the fish here. So he's like, I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. And he's got like his tentacles like wrapped around the fish. And then when he's like, you don't have to go to Switzerland, he squeezes the fish and you see like his eyes like bulge. And you got like little puffy cheeks, lips, you know, almost like that image from Ratatouille where he's like, "Hmm," and it's like super pushed and funny. Just what I'm thinking is like just something that can push the fact that he thinks he's mean. He thinks he's super intimidating. Maybe he is intimidating in the fish pit in the fish tank, but he's still really 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 small. So having him interact with a fish, maybe it's a seashell, maybe it's a lobster, maybe it's a hermit crab, just give him something that he can like bully while he's being all intimidated. That way it makes it more funny at the end when you get the payoff of the kid just being like, oh, squishy octopus, and like poking at it. So I think that would be fun, and it's going to cut down a lot on just the simple like hand gestures that you have, because 9 times out of 10 I try never to do just pure like hand gestures the whole time because it gets to be too much. And so then my other note, cinematography wise, I'm kind of going back and forth in different orders, so hopefully these all make sense. But I don't think you need this establishing shot here, because I think it kind of takes away from this shot of the reveal of like, oh look, he's super super tiny. If you're here, I think it still shows the fact that he's in a cage and he's small to this kid. It's not reading that he's like super giant compared to the kid. So I think what I would try to do is to still keep it clear, the idea of why is he walking towards screen. Have him just start off like you have him here, of like what I have drawn out here is he's just looking off screen like you have the ball doing. Yeah, right, looking off screen. And he's just sitting there having a good time. That's how the shot starts out. And then you just hear dong 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 of like a kid like thumping on the glass. And so that I think that'll be just as clear as having this establishing shot, but it's not gonna ruin the payoff of having this as your final scene, which I think is pretty funny and I think it works. I just think you need to scrap the first composition. And then to go with that, I like how slowly taking on the glasses. Screen right. Are you talking about in this shot here? So like you'd have like, you know, a finger here, you've got his hand. This is the best drawing ever. And he's like tapping on the glass like that. I think it could work. I think that would be a better solution than this. I'd try putting in the audio cue, and if that works, go with that. If it's not quite clear enough, if you don't feel like it reads 100%, yeah, just add his hand in and have like tap tap tap, because I think that works just as well. Because then you might have like a smaller hand and he's a bit bigger. I also think you need to up angle this shot a little bit more, because you know up angle shots always make it more intimidating. So oh, that was another note I was gonna have. um hmm hmm okay, what we just suggest would work, but what I'm gonna suggest here is an alternate that will make having the finger tapping impossible. So I might suggest trying both. But what you could do as well, this is just another idea, start your composition out of a way more upshot, like putting the camera at the ground level, but having your composition be super super tight in like this. So he's still on like the right third, you know, maybe he's here, you know, octopus boy. And then just have a slow linear pull out so that by the time, so like maybe you're close in and then he looks and he starts creeping towards camera. And as he starts coming towards camera, you start slowly pulling out of the action. You start slowly pulling out until you reach. You start slowly pulling out until you reach this composition here. That could also work, but that would just be audio cue because you'd be so tight in right here to the scene that you probably wouldn't be able to have the hand in there because the camera would be way in front of the glass. I can draw in perspective, which I probably can't. But I do have Maya up. So what I'm suggesting, I'm going to pull Maya up super quick, is it's that kind of angle. I'm going to pull this off to the side. I'm just going to create a cube. Okay. Oh no, you're good. You're good. I just can't draw perspective. So I'm just gonna do this super quick. But yeah, it probably wouldn't have been worth to do a Maya file this week. But once you get into blocking, it would probably be super helpful. But so you're kind of at this composition right now with the chest of like having it on. If we go into the thirds, maybe it's a little bit bigger. Here we go. And I might as well create a sphere just to show the octopus. Okay, so this is essentially what you have here. But what I think you can do is you can pull in and make it way more of an upshot of something along these lines. That way you can have like the tentacles like hanging over the chest, and he seems much, much more intimidating. So you go from here to here, which I think this is a lot more intimidating. And then let me go ahead and turn on manipulators. Okay, I need to create another camera. I would probably use something around like a 50mm lens. And then I would probably just do like a linear pull out of the camera. And then slap this to linear. Something along these lines is what I'm thinking. So like you're gonna hold it until he starts like walking backwards. And it's walking towards camera, but as he walks towards camera, it's gonna start coming. And this is way too quick. Like I think your shot is overall 600 frames. And he hits at 394. And then he starts coming towards camera at 265. So this is essentially the camera move that I'm thinking is like it holds, he's talking his dialogue, and then as he starts coming towards camera, it's just like a slow, steady pull out until he gets like super close towards the camera here. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking composition wise. I think that could work, but also the other one that that we talked about of him tapping on the glass would work, but you'd leave the composition the same. That way you could have the finger on the glass.
Let me tell you something.
And then another note I had watching, I like the slow, intimidating way you have him walking towards camera, but I think you need to spice it up a little bit before and a little bit after. So you still keep very snappy, fun timing. Because right now, all of his movements are just a little too slow, a little too linear. So if you have him looking off screen here, I think you should hold it, and then you hear thump, 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 or you see his finger on it, whichever you go with, and it's like boom, and his head just like snaps around, like boom, and he says his line of,
Tell you something.
"Let me tell you something." So like he's just like sitting there, and it's like boom, "Let me tell you something," and that will spice up, make it snappy, make it super fun timing. So that way when he starts coming towards screen super intimidating, it'll be linear and slow like you have it, and it'll be more interesting because then you'll have contrast of a snappy move before that.
Had hot baths.
And then while he's walking slowly, if he's to shoot out and grab that fish, that's also going to spice up your timing and your energy because you'll have, he's an octopus. And that's something else I was going to say is try to use the fact that he's an octopus and he has 8 legs. Because right now it's almost as if he has 6 legs for walking and 2 arms for, using them like humans. But if you're going to use an octopus, try to find ways that you can use all 8 legs for different things. Not all at the same time, obviously, but if he's acting more like an octopus and he's using all 8 legs, maybe he uses these 2 for gesturing. But then this one goes and starts walking, and then these 2 start gesturing, right? Just finding ways to utilize all the arms, but not making it confusing would be an overall note I would suggest. But so like maybe he's gesturing with these 2 arms, and then a third one from back there is the one that shoots out and grabs the fish, right?
Clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland.
You don't have to go to Switzerland. And here, what I was going to suggest is really try to play with your depth of field screen Z space, and really have him come towards camera. Maybe he's got this super creepy grin. Don't have to come to Switzerland, whatever, and like squeezing the fish, whatever. And then the same with this angle. I'm going to pop up Maya real quick again. I think you can really play with the difference of sizes in these 2 characters. If we have 2 spheres, this one is the kid, this one is the squid. I think going more of an over-the-shoulder shot for the kid is going to make the squid feel a lot smaller. Probably not this much of an over-the-shoulder shot. But something along these lines I think would be really cool is if like this is the kid's head and he's got his arm like poking on the glass, and then over here you've got this tiny little squid and he's like threatening. I think this plays a lot more with the screen depth and like big and small, close and far, as opposed to like just your pure like side. I mean, like this works if you really push it graphically and you have like you know, oops, small guy, big, and he's like tapping here. But I think for me personally, I think it would be more fun is if you have it more over the shoulder of like, you've got the kid here. I should be drawing with my tablet. You've got the kid here, you know, he's poking at the glass. And then you've got, eraser, get rid of this thing, I don't know what this is. You've got this tiny little like octopus. Like being angry. I think that could be super fun. So just take that with a grain of salt. If you like it, apply it, but just a suggestion.
Let me tell you something. I've killed more people than you've had hot baths. I am the angel of death. I am Abaddon the Destroyer. I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland. Let me tell you something. I've killed more people than you've had hot baths. I'm the angel of death. I am Abaddon the Destroyer. I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland. Let me tell you something. I've killed more people than you've had hot baths. I am the angel of death. I am Abaddon the Destroyer. I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland.
Let me go ahead and go over your notes. I just realized that I haven't read your notes yet. Hold on one second. I'll read them through and make sure I didn't skip over anything you asked. Okay, cool. As for time, honestly, I don't know. Sin's the one that's keeping a handle on the scheduling, and life's been so crazy. I don't even know how many weeks. I have no idea how many weeks we've done the feedback. I think we were gonna do 12. Let me check super quickly. I think I can see how many weeks we've done so far. Content videos. 5. So this will be 6. So we're on the 6th, so we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 6 more. So that's about how, so we'll, give or take, I might have to skip a week. I don't know, depending on scheduling and all that stuff, but give or take, we have 6 more weeks to work on this shot. So let me watch it again and see. Yeah, you should be able to easily get the shot done because it's more of a one character shot, and I think it'll be super fun.
Let me tell you something. I've killed more people than you've had hot baths. I am the angel of death. I am Abaddon the Destroyer. I'm a one-man euthanasia clinic. Only with me, you don't have to go to Switzerland.
Yeah. Do you have any questions or anything else on this shot? I think it's in a really good spot. I think the idea is great. I think it's just reshooting some reference, getting a little more specific with his environment, and you should be good to go. At least getting some poses in, and we can start going from there. Because I think once you make some changes of the stuff I suggested, you should be able to put it in Maya and start getting some base poses in. So. Cool. And if you don't have any more questions or anything on this, let me switch this over. I'm going to open up Ayob's shot. If you want to go ahead and post the sync sketch link, I might use it for something, but I'll probably do mainly everything in Maya. Changes, reshoot some reference this week, try to get some poses down. Cool. And I'll probably watch some clips this week because it's been a hot minute since I've seen penguins in Madagascar. Probably watch just to see how they make him move, what they use, because I saw what you're saying about two legs, two tentacles leading, two stabilizing, and then two for acting. I think that's probably the realistic way it would work, but I think using all 8 at different times would be more interesting. So I'd be curious to see how they do it in penguins. So I'll probably watch a lot of clips of that this week just so I can have an idea of like how they're making him move, just so I have an idea of like how do I make an octopus move that looks cool. And that way I'll have a better idea to like give you some notes and some suggestions next week. So cool. Yeah, it's looking really great. I can't wait to see next week and start to getting into Maya and posing and all that fun stuff. So I will now move on to Ayub. If you want to go ahead and send the sync sketch I said, Ayub, you can put it in the feedback, but I'll probably just do most of everything in Maya. So let me move this over, close this out, open this up, and I will need to open this. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab my tablet. Set it over here for now. That way I'm in my element. Two panes, camera 1. Cool. So let me know if you can hear this inside of Maya.
Honey, are you home? Oh, I forgot. I'm not married.
Cool. So I'm mainly going to go over like splining and polishing things for this shot, but I do have a couple notes for acting that I think you could, if you have the time, if you want to, you can add to plus this shot, because I think there's some acting stuff that's not quite reading to me, but I'm mainly going to go over workflow and polishing things. That way you can take it on to your next shot and not have to do a bunch of revision on this shot.
I forgot. I'm not married.
So the main thing that stuck out to me acting-wise on this shot,
I forgot. I'm not.
Is it feels a little repetitive that she's like, I forgot I'm not married. Like, I'm not seeing any personality. Like, those gestures aren't telling me anything about this character. So what I was thinking just out of my head is like, what if she's like, I forgot I'm not married. Like, what if she's like, if she's really disappointed, if she's pissed that she's not married, she's like, there's no good guys out here, I'm not married. It would make a lot of sense if she was like,
I forgot.
Oh yeah, I forgot I'm not married, right? And she gets like this upset, like deadpan look on her face.
I forgot.
And so probably what I would try, again, I haven't tried this yet, so I'm not guaranteeing it's gonna work, but we'll try it. I'm going to try... Okay, I'm going to try deleting everything after this.
Not married.
Setting a key here. And then taking this and just stretching the animation out.
I forgot. I'm not married. Forgot. I'm not married.
Cool. So this works for now for just a base movement. And then I'm going to use Animbot to smart snap keys.
Not married.
Cool. And they're all snapped. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to change the head angle to be a little more like this.
I'm not married. I forgot. I'm not married. I'm not married. Forgot. I'm not married. Forgot. I'm not married.
Cool. Hello. Welcome to the stream.
Forgot. I'm not married. I'm not married. I'm not married. I forgot. I'm not married.
And then I accidentally deleted all the facial animation off. But I was going to redo the pose anyway. As soon as Maya decides to start moving again. There we go. Okay, let me find some poses that I already made for Milan, just so I'm not taking too long on this shot. Milan. Okay, so I hope these translate over. There we go. So I'm not going to go through facial posing because that's not my forte and I'm going to take a really long time doing it. But essentially what I'm trying to get is just a really unamused look on her face of like... So I believe Ayub was using layers and he baked it down to a base layer to send it to me because I'm demoing. So I'm not, this isn't actually my shot. This is Ayub's shot and he just baked it down to one layer so that I can demo some stuff for him. So that's why so many keys. And I definitely understand because I use animation layers a lot and sometimes I have to bake down and it's just a lot of keys. So let's see here. Just gonna try and round out this eye to get more of that like straight top lid, curved underlid. And again, these poses aren't gonna be great because I'm doing them quick, and I will say that my facial posing takes me by far the longest because it's not my strong suit. But I'm just getting something that's relatively good enough for this demo just so I can showcase like why I think this acting choice could be better. And so that's good enough for this demo. So we have...
I'm not married. Not married.
these. And then I'm going to hold this pose so that this and this are the same. And then I'm just going to slightly stretch this pose.
I'm not married. I'm not married. I'm not married. I'm not married.
There we go. So I'm not going to go through the full splining of this. I'm really just trying to show the change in an acting choice, like I said. And so if I just flip this in bit to stepped for now, I think this dialogue piece reads a lot clearer of,
I forgot. I'm not married.
I forgot I'm not married. Like she's like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm not married, right? And she gets like this just like deadpan look on her face. So like obviously the posing's not great. The motion isn't splined or polished.
I'm not married.
But I think the energy reads a lot better too, because you have to realize that an acting shot is a change in energies and motion. And so if the whole time it's big motions, big energies, big like one straight how do I put it? In terms of like music, if you're playing an instrument and you're doing one straight beat for the entire song, it's going to be boring. If you're doing one straight, like I can't remember the term, it's been so long since I've done music, but like the loudness, like you have F is loud and MF is medium loud, rhythm, yeah, all of that. If it's the same throughout the entire shot, it's going to be boring. But if you have going down and up and down and up, it becomes more interesting. And so through this whole area, you have big movements, throwing the thing, she's moving this way and this way.
I'm not married.
If you don't have a resolve to the end of the shot of like, she's big energy, oh yeah, I forgot I'm not married, it doesn't quite end the shot correctly because it's high energy to the end of the shot. But if she's like, I forgot I'm not married, then it kind of dies for the end of the shot, and I think it works a lot better. So hopefully
I
this
forgot. I'm not married.
gives you an idea of like what I'm thinking of like going for, and like what it could look like if I spent a little more time.
Forgot. I'm not married.
And then the main thing I wanted to go over is just some polishing and like splining tips for you of like how to get a little more weight in the first of the shot when she's pushing this rock over. Because right now, like, I think the feeling of the rock is pretty good. I think mainly it's the hips that's throwing off. I think it feels, the way she's pushing the rock is making it feel relatively light. Like it doesn't feel super, super heavy. And I think that's mainly in the hips. So if I look at the TY of the hips, right now, she's going straight into this thing and her hips are going at a straight angle, right? If you're pushing and you're really pushing, you're trying to push up on the rock, because if the rock is being pulled down by gravity. So if you're pushing down on the rock, you're just making sure that it stays. But if you're pushing up on it or against it, you're going to feel like you're pushing a lot more. So if she's here, I'm just going to delete some of these keys, and I'm going to have to close the graph editor. Animation, graph editor, dock this bad boy back. There we go. Cool. And also another thing is, if you're up here and her legs are stretched, you're not going to have much leverage to push against the rock because your legs are straight. If you're down here, you're going to have way more leverage to push because your legs are bent and you're able to push. Your legs are the strongest muscle in your body. Like, people can, like, you know, an average person could probably bench press 150 pounds. Your average person can squat, you know, maybe 200, 250, 300. So the more squatted your legs get, the more you're going to be able to push. So I think about here is good. So let's just delete these keys. So you're going to go in for the push, and you're going to drop her hips here and have her push up into it. And I'm just going to take all these keys and delete them. And I'm going to do something like that. Let's see how this feels. And so I feel like she needs to drop sooner. So let's try doing this. And immediately, so if I'm going for this push against this push, this feels immediately 10 times weightier, because you can see her sliding up as she's trying to push it out, which means she's really pushing on it, and the weight of the rock is heavier than the weight of her push, which makes her slide upwards slightly. If that, hopefully that makes sense. So as she's pushing, maybe I'm going to hold her down just a little bit longer and then delay this a little bit. There we go. I like that. And so then she's going to push upwards. Also, watch out for her knee penetrating. It's going straight through the rock. So as she pushes, her cog is going to get higher and higher. So I'm just going to delete these keys. Have something relatively like this for now. And then as she pushes out, her cog is going to come down. I'm going to delete these keys. And then I like that you have them come up here. So I'm just going to delete some of these keys. Clean this up. Smooth out these curves. And I need to Madison, if you're watching, can you please remove the bot trying to get me to buy followers and primes? Hit. There we go. And so I'm going to do the same thing to this first push that I did to this one, where she's pushing up against it. So right now it feels fairly linear. So I'm just going to bring her center of gravity down so that it feels like that. And this, I'm also feeling out, I'm thinking, I'm watching, I'm like, okay, when would her hips come up and when would they hit their peak? I feel like the push, they would hit its peak when her leg straightens out to about here. And so I'm going to pull the cog up a little bit here, and then I'm just going to delete most of these keys and just have it ease up so it goes, right? And then I'm just going to make this a smooth transition. Yeah, delete this. How does this feel? I think she's coming up. So I'm watching and I'm like, it feels like she's coming up too soon. So let me try delaying this. Let's try delaying it even more. Thank you for banning. Also, something I would do for the rock. The rock does have a control. Nope, no it doesn't. Okay. Display. Is this it? Cayman. Okay, cool. Ah, there we go. What I would try to do for the rock is, let me make sure that, okay, so the hands are not following. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to change the rock and then change it back just so it looks nice. But what I'm seeing here is that she's pushing with her arms bent at the first, which is a lot less power of pushing than if she's up like this. Like this, she's going to be pushing harder than here. But it feels like the rock is moving easier at the beginning when she's like this than it is when she's up against it. So what I would do is I would have the rock start to slow down here, and it would stay slowed down until she goes up and pushes against it like this, and then it starts to move more, essentially. So maybe I would have, what, is this just pure, okay, cool, it's just pure TX. I would probably have something like this. To where you have initial push and then that. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. I don't want to have to go through I don't want to go through having to make the hands go with the rock, but you get what I'm saying. And then let me just go through. So pushing. For the foot. I'm just going to have the foot plant farther back. That way you don't get this penetration on the rock. So it's more like this. And I think this makes a more appealing pose anyway. So I like where the leg is here. So I'm just going to delete these frames. I'm going to have the foot stay. And then I'm going to have it stay planted until here. So I'm just going to delete this. Match the pose. Have the ball roll go to 0. And then just delete these keys so it goes boom. There we go. There we go. So I could probably, I would probably translate this higher, to be honest, except it's starting to get lost. Put ball roll a little bit higher. There we go, something along these lines.
Honey, are you home? Honey, are you home? Honey.
Go ahead and turn the audio off for now. So another thing I would try to do is a very common identifiable trait of pulling or walking with something heavy is your feet go like fast. Like you have long planting time and really quick transition time. So what I would try to do, and I'm just going to do this with the retiming tool because there's so many keys and it'll just be easier this way, I think. I'm just going to take the time that your foot leaves the ground and the time that it plants. And then I'm just going to add 2 retiming markers in between, and I'm just going to make the transitions quicker, right? And let's see how this feels. Boom. Boom. I think this can be faster. I think this can be a little slower. I think this can be a little bit less, and I can pull this a little bit. There we go. I think that immediately feels better. And then I'm just going to use Animbot to bake it out. Smart Snap keys, and I'm going to take a drink of water. So then I'm just going to do the same thing with this foot here. And it looks like we're getting a little bit of gimbal, possibly. Yep. I'm just going to switch the rotation order on this really quickly. Cool. We should be good to go now. Oiler filter, boom, okay. So I'm just going to set retime marker, set a retime marker, and just there we go. Boom, boom. And then Smart Snap keys. And immediately it feels way heavier now. I'd say it feels 3 times heavier. Also, I'm going to go ahead and, just because it's my perfectionist brain is freaking out, I'm just going to try something really quick. There we go. Now it just looks a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so the other thing I was gonna show is I really like the bag you have. I feel like the only thing wrong with it is it feels a slight bit disconnected. In that, I like that you have all these individual controls to allow for like lead and follow and overlap and fleshiness. But if I was to take a cube, and I'm just gonna modify match all transforms. And I'm just going to scale up this cube to be the same size roughly as the bag. Okay, so I'm just going to make the cube follow this bag so that I can see what the overall mass is doing as opposed to just individual controls. So I'm just gonna do, oh, come on, Anabot, really? Cool. Let's just bake frames real quick. Cool, okay. So if I'm just watching what the overall bag is doing, the overall bag feels a little soft because it's not thumping, it's not going fast into this brick. So I don't know if maybe you do have a main control, okay. But that's just the, okay, that's just the layout. So you probably, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this cube and I'm just gonna clean up the bouncing ball mechanics. And I'm gonna say, okay, it's gonna hit here. If you want a little overshoot and settle, that's fine. But this key that hits, it's gonna fast into that. So I'm gonna make it hold. I'm just going to do something like this. So if I isolate selected, so this is this, this is this. See how this feels. Too far. How about this? Let's just take everything and move it back one frame now. There we go. That feels good. So it's not much different than what you have, but because it's the heavy part, I would try to have probably these controls, which I can probably do on an animation layer, to be honest. Add these to an animation layer. Okay, so I like where the bag is at this point, so I'm gonna key it here. I like where it ends up right here. But right here, I would like to have a little more lead and follow, and I would like the middle part to hit a little bit harder and the ends to like overlap a slight bit. So I'm just going to pull this guy up, pull this guy up to make it overlap a little bit. And just kind of pose it to the cube for now. Okay, so now let's hide the cube and let's see what we got. Boom. Okay, so now that I have an animation layer, I can mute it and we can see what we have here. It feels very soft, but if I unmute the layer, boom. It just feels like it hits a little bit harder and it just feels a little more weighty. And then if I wanted to, I could go through and clean up, because right now it feels a little bit like it's a bag up until here, and then it all just moves down as a unit. And so probably what I would do is I would still overlap this, and then I would take these and offset them by a couple frames. Feels a frame late. Let's try this. And since that's overlapping a little bit, maybe I'll take this and offset it by a frame. There we go. And maybe this guy I'll kind of ease into his final pose. Oop, did not want to overshoot that. And this guy I will drag a little bit, so I get a little bit of boom. You know, I might make that opposite. This guy will ease. Oh, Maya, why? Apologies for the crash, everybody. I will be up momentarily. Let me just open up Maya real quick again, and then we'll be back up and running. Da, da, da. I'm looking for not that. That. Environment low. Cool. We should be almost ready and back up and running. The joys of working in a program that crashes constantly. And we are relatively back. 2 panes, camera. Cool. There's no textures because it's saved to a crash file and everything's not repathed, but it'll be fine for now. I don't need the textures or anything. Cool. Back in business. Turn off the sound. Okay. Boom. So what I was going to do is, since she's pulling, you know, what I had to begin with was fine. The only thing I'm gonna change is that I'm gonna add this tip to the animation layer. Nah, I'm gonna take this. Make it hit first, and I'm gonna take this. I'm just gonna drag this just a little bit. Boom, there we go. So now you just have a little lead and follow on the part of the bag. I'm gonna take all of this animation, move it back one frame. And then if I go and bake it down, merge layers, I'm probably gonna make the fall faster, because now that I was just working with the timing that you had. Now that I have the timing, or now that I have the overlap and the feeling better, I think I'm gonna make it faster. So I'm gonna take this frame. I'm in a rigging workspace. What? Cool. I'm going to take this frame with all of these controls, and I'm just going to make it 2 frames faster overall. Actually, I'm going to use the retiming tool. So I'm going to take this frame, move it over, and I'm going to take this frame and move it over. There we go, that feels better. And then I'm also going to drag the bag coming off the ground. I like the shapes you're getting a lot. I think you can push the timing just a little bit. Whew. Boom. And so I'm trying to make it coming off the ground a little bit longer, the hang time a little bit longer, and the hit a little bit quicker. So I'm just like making the transitions quicker and making it take longer to get off the ground. Ooh, we got a gimbal frame. We'll fix that in a second. Curves, Euler filter. Switch the rotation order, and then let's just delete this frame. Boom. And we're having rotation order issues here too. Curves, Euler filter. I'm just going to why is this all the way down here? Interesting. Okay, so ignore that. I don't know what that is, but I could go in and try to troubleshoot it, but it wasn't happening on the original shot, so I probably just broke something. That would be my guess. Hit curves, Euler filter. Okay, I'll leave it. But hopefully you get the idea of like making the bag just feel weightier and through the method that I showed. I would try to, I hope this is the right one. Here we go. I would try to continue this line in the body of like you're leading with the elbow, which I really like, but I would try to keep that in line as you pull up. Right, because she's still pulling upwards. So lead with that elbow, because right now she's pulling and the elbow's coming down. Try to keep it up until you throw it over, essentially. And so about here is whenever I think you'll bring it down. So I think that feels better. Honestly, I think you could probably even keep it up for another frame. And you could delete these two. I'm gonna try something really quick. I think it might be nice to get a little head antic as she starts to pull, but I'm gonna see. So let's see how this reads. And again, animation layers are the bomb. They're the best because it gives you, it allows you to try things like this. I think I kind of like this. Please give me absolute value. How about this? Almost a little head antic, which before just felt fairly linear, right? Which is fine. It feels pretty good. I think adding this in just adds a little antic in, which I think is kind of nice. I think you can possibly, I'm gonna try this. Translate Z, is it? Yes. Push her hips a little farther screen right here. And the graph editor's messing up again. So that she goes forward. And then as she comes down, instead of coming back, she comes forward a little bit. And then antics backwards. I don't think this exaggerated, but I do think this could work. Ooh. Yeah. Boom. I think she comes out too far. There we go. I think that works nicely. Because then it's like the bag is taking her forwards. And then she kind of has to put her hands on the table to push herself back, right? I might even go like this. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's most of the splining things that I want to go over for tonight. It's getting pretty late. Did you have any questions or anything you wanted me to go over real quick, Ayub? But this is mainly my, just some notes that I saw that I wanted to go over of things you could do to push. And the stuff I went over is stuff you can do through your entire shot of like pushing the timing, the spacing, the weight, making sure everything feels really nice, and like taking the retime tool and being like, oh, can I make this transition quicker? Will that make it feel lighter? Will that make it feel heavier? And like making sure the hips are reacting the way they should. So yeah, no problem, Ayub. Happy to look at your work. It was super fun, and hopefully I can see some more of these shots. You're doing really, really good work, and you're really fast too. So keep up the good work. And with that, if nobody else has any questions or anything, I may call it there. It's been a fairly long stream. It's been pretty fun. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for talking in the chat, watching my stream, watching me talk about random animation things. So I believe we will be live this Saturday, possibly. I'm not sure. But Cynthia will be critiquing tomorrow, and Madison will be critiquing on Friday. So keep an eye out for them, and I will see you guys either Saturday or next Wednesday. So see you guys.